Hello, Heithla Day. Yeah, thanks for the video. I mean, first of all, for the first 2 minutes, I just utterly agreed with you, and overall, I agree, and I think you obviously understand quantum mechanics pretty well. So, but you say a few things that do make us have a difference, and I could start at the end and say that I don't see that uh, hidden variable theories, are the answer for me. I don't like hidden variables. See, I believe that for something to exist, I have to be able to interact with it. And now, if a hidden variable theory where I can never interact just by theory with the hidden variable, that's choosing to hide that. I would rather, as long as I have an alternative, consider that. And I don't believe in the Copenhagen collapse or interpretation, the Copenhagen interpretation. I believe what Feynman and Hawking's believed, which is the many histories approach, and not making too many assumptions. And by calling it many histories, it avoids this multiverse parallel worlds implication, because by no means is that assured. There are definitely mergers, just like there's splitting, and or I should say, to the degree that there's splitting, there's also mergers. So the first thing you said at about 2 minutes that I disagree with is you said the quantum mechanics is not about determinism, causality, reality. That doesn't inherently make statements on there. I would say it does inherently make statements. And yes, they're open to interpretations, but of course it does say something about determinism when you have something like the uncertainty principle. It says to know one thing, you can't know another thing. And to say that it's impossible to know when something is going to emit energy, and all of those things, those are comments about causality and determinism, and certainly about reality. But especially just the way that causality works, quantum mechanics says that the electron is a wave in some sense. And that speaks to how it causes events. Suddenly everything's a wave, and this speaks how events happen. So what exactly it means, it might be hard to put in words. It might be hard to get the concepts for, but the theory itself does definitely say something about that. And our difficulty understanding what it says is merely our difficulty understanding a new language of concepts. On the sexy interpretations, I agree with you on that. That's not where I got my idea of quantum mechanics. I got it from physics class in college. And I got it in terms of commentary by the commentary of physicists. Bohr and Einstein, for that matter, and his negative comments. Feynman. There's a lot of good videos by Feynman. Stanford has a lecture on quantum mechanics. Though really I had all my ideas long before I watched any of these videos, but still it continues to be just enjoyable. Feynman is just always excellent. He I think is a natural philosopher, well beyond physics. He excels in philosophy in general, if you ask me. So I'm not too polluted. I haven't read Gödel, Escher, or Bach. I've heard it was good. I bet it's great, but that's just, I'm pretty primary source on my view of this stuff. So now one thing you said that the Copenhagen interpretation means with Schrodinger's cat is that the role of the observer has to make a difference, and that's crazy. Well, again, going back to physics in college, the physicist that taught me said, well, the Copenhagen experiment is just so much bullshit because we don't really have an explanation, and we focus on the math. Right, similar to what you said, as far as they use it as a cop-out to not have to think about the philosophy. They got burned last time they did a lot of philosophy off of their determinism, right? So look, people are still have this weird wrong idea for hundreds of years. I'll get into the probabilism in a minute. 4 minutes, 5.5 minutes, okay. And they definitely never said it was the role of the observer. That's just something you can use as shorthand. But really, the reason it's a thing is, that it's observed matters, is because this connects you when you interact. When a photon is emitted from one source and and absorbed by another, then there's a connection there. There's there's a connection through that photon, and it's interesting that if, what does time stop during a photon is somehow that connection an instant in a higher four-dimensional space. So it's also, that's why the collapse is bullshit, because if you really think about it, it has to have also collapsed a different way. Someone else opened it in and it's dead. There's a 50-50 chance. So you open it and then one, the cat is dead, one it's still alive. And so you get this many histories that there's multiple options. And somehow they all coexist. But they also come back together. Sometimes the differences don't make a difference in the end and they come back together, all like quantum erasure. I don't know why people say things like, when you talked about how could you have the die work in a system totally free of mechanical components? Well, I mean, you have mechanical components, and they can all be written down in terms of the quantum mechanics, right? There's nothing in a die that can't be described in quantum mechanics. It's just that quantum mechanics is overkill for it. Okay, it's overkill. It's a lot of extra work to get numbers that are such low energies and things like this that they're not going to do you much good when you can use something a lot more simple, right? But there's mechanical components. It's just that they're not classically mechanical, where they're totally determined. As you said, it just fills out these probabilistic determinations, and we do work on the probability. Now, the deep question is how fundamental and where is this so-called randomness? But see, I found now I should not call it randomness, because people just, it's like free will, freedom. It's totally random. That's what random means. No, it's probabilistic, and that's the proper idea, because some things are very probable. So if you think of it that way instead of randomness, it's like, oh yeah, that's how I know what's probably going to happen. But people say we live this well, this was conference report, but people say we in the macroscope it's deterministic. What? You've determined exactly how much of what part of your life? I met a lot of people. I've yet to see the one that's really, things go a determined way and they can predict it, or, it's just like rough estimates all the way. So, kind of the intuition that says, well, obviously, this is what we see and how it works. I mean, to me, I see in determinism at this level. Maybe that's why it's easy for me to accept that, wow, that runs all the way to the bottom. Who knew? It doesn't really change my reasoning, because I already reason in this world probabilistically. So, cheers.